baby boomers and busters generation, the 1960s through the 1980s, were the age of youth as 70 million children from the post-war baby boom became teenagers and young adults. Changes affected education, values, lifestyles, laws, and entertainment. American culture flourished. Binge buying and credit became a way of life, and shop till you drop was the watchword. Labels were everything, even or especially for our children. Tom Wolfe dubbed the baby boomers as the splurge generation. Video games, aerobics, minivans, camcorders, and talk shows became part of our daily lives. The use of leisure time of the generation was quite different from that of their parent generation. Many books, which were read for leisure during this time, contributed to the civil rights movement. The 1960s were an ever-changing time to be a woman. Until Twiggy hit the scene in the late 1960s, women with bodies like Mad Men's Joan Holloway were prized for their ample bosoms and curvaceous frames. Pet rocks, sea monkeys, and mood rings were also popular fads of these times. During the 1960s, 70s, and 80s, the lives of individuals became more socially based. Group workout classes emerged in an attempt to lower the high obesity statistic levels. During this time period, Woodstock was held in Bethel, New York. Teenagers of the generation will use transistor radios to listen to their favorite artists. Boomers also grew up watching television in leisure time. Popular shows such as The Brady Bunch, Gilligan's Island, The Twilight Zone, Happy Days, and The Ed Sullivan Show were very popular and loved by a vast majority. From 1960 to 1969, the most popular sports for youth were football, tennis, and volleyball. The Olympic Games were held in Squaw Valley in the year 1960, Denver, Colorado in 1976, Lake Placid, New York in 1980, and Los Angeles, California in 1984. The United States hockey team won the gold medal in these Winter Olympics. Muhammad Ali won gold as a light heavyweight boxer. A few of the great baseball players of this time were Willie Mays, Roberto Clemente, and Bob Gibson. Arthur Ashe became the first black man to win the United States Tennis Championship in 1968. Big businesses were now overseeing a lot of what was going on with sports. Television caused a huge change to how sports operated. Television was able to help the popularity spread quickly, and these large businesses were able to profit greatly from them. The 1960s through the 1980s saw the rise of both board and video games. The games were highly varied and creative, with various settings and goals. Some games involved fantasy worlds, strange ideas, and some were similar to Dungeons & Dragons. Several video games were created that are still popular today, such as Life, Mousetrap, and others. Sales were stable until the end of the 1970s, when the video game industry really began to take off. Video gaming reached mainstream popularity in the 1970s and 1980s. There was an enormous surge of toys in the 1960s and 1980s. In the 1960s, Hasbro responds to Barbie with G.I. Joe, the world's first action figure. NASA's high-profile space race inspired a constellation of new toys. The Hoppity Hop bounces onto the scene. Nerf lets kids play ball in the house. Hot Wheels takes off. Super Balls soar. And the Easy Bake Oven revolutionizes the term playing house. In the 1970s, Stretch Armstrong fuses tug of war with the action figure. Shrinky Dinks prove that ovens aren't just for food anymore, while Sit and Spin proves that vertigo can be fun. In the 1980s, Rubik's Cube gives smart kids their day in the spotlight. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles make Cowabunga a household word, and G.I. Joe is repurposed for the 1980s as a real American hero.
Heroes in a half shell, turtle